Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a rather fancy, interesting new item coming out in Fairy Rise. The new set coming in Japan very shortly in the Pokemon trading card game. For those of you asking, we do not have confirmation on exactly when and how Fairy Rise is going to be released, but I think it's a very safe bet that it will be its own little mini set in the way that Dragon Storm over in Japan became Dragon Majesty over here, or as opposed to be more precise, will become Dragon Majesty over here. So, what's this item and is it actually any good? Well, it has been revealed and translated by the lovely David Hochmann over at RappelmannTCG. It's called Adventure Bag and it reads, search your deck for 2 Pokemon tools, reveal them, and put them into your hand. And then, of course, shuffle your deck, because, you know, if you don't shuffle your deck after a search, that's just rude. It helps you to search out Pokemon tool cards. It's as simple as that. Question is, how much do we want to be able to search out Pokemon tool cards? The thing is, at the moment, we've basically got 2 Pokemon tool cards, which are worth playing. We've got Floatstone and we've got Choice Band. Now, that's not to say they are the only tools seeing any play. Fighting Fury Belt also sees a little bit of play. But really, Floatstone and Choice Band are the main things that see play, and by the time this comes out, we're going to be after the rotation. Floatstone is going to have rotated. Now we're still going to have a skateboard, but a skateboard reduces your retreat cost by 1, although it does also allow you to retreat if you are asleep or paralysed, rather than Floatstone, which just flat out gives you free retreat. So a skateboard's not quite as good, and though it will see play in some decks as a replacement for Floatstone, it's not going to see play in every deck. We're still going to have Choice Band. Choice Band is still going to be great. Now, there is an argument that if you're playing free Choice Band, you might as well just play a 4th Choice Band over playing a card that searches out your Choice Band. But some decks are really, really reliant on Choice Band. So, let's take something like Lapras. Lapras hits for 160 damage for free water energy. And 160 damage isn't good enough. The only GX that will KO is Marshadow. And when you're looking at something like a Lapras, it's a water Pokemon. We don't have great ways to do extra damage. So if you're a fighting Pokemon, brilliant. You've got Diancie Prism Star, and you can search that out with a Brooklet Hill, so going and getting that Choice Band immediately isn't necessarily that much of a priority. But for Lapras, you're doing 160, that's not quite enough. Buzzwole has got 190 HP. And Ultra Necrozma's got 190 HP. And even Tapu Lele's got 170 HP. Now, in Expanded or pre-rotation, you can do that extra 10 damage using a Fighting Fury Belt. Point is, you've got to find those Pokemon tools. And Lapras is going to be playing 4 Choice Band. It's got to play 4 Choice Band. It's too gosh darned reliant on Choice Band to not. But there's still no guarantee that you're going to draw that Choice Band at the right time. And a card like Adventure Bag here, it's not just that you get to search out the Choice Band, so it essentially acts like a 5th one. It's the fact that you get to grab 2. So unless you play something like a Cynthia, or your opponent plays something like a Judge, i.e. something happens to make you shuffle your hand back into your deck, you're going to have one ready for next turn as well. Now, whenever we talk about tools, and we literally talked about this an hour or 2 ago when we looked at Fairy Charms, your opponent is just going to go, oh, Field Blower. And that sucks. Your opponent can play a Field Blower to get rid of that tool that you really need. And it's quite a lazy thing to say nowadays, oh, there's no point playing the tool, your opponent's just going to Field Blower it away. I mean, it hasn't stopped stuff like Floatstone, Choice Band, and Fighting Fury about seeing play, so it's still relevant even with Field Blower. But you know what's really good? You attach something like a Fighting Fury bout, your opponent Field Blowers it away, you've then got another Fighting Fury bout ready for next turn. You cannot stop your opponent having a Field Blower, but you can gosh darned well make sure that if they've got a Field Blower, you are prepared. you can make sure that you've got another tool ready to go the following turn. And that's what's so good about this. It lets you kind of stack up. If you go out to the pub in the UK, we have one thing called double parking. That's where you've got a drink ready for when your drink runs out, so you never have to worry about not having a drink in front of you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this allows you to double park your tool cards. And it's pretty gosh darn good. Now, the other thing this allows you to do is if you're playing a variety of tools, this allows you to have the right one for the right circumstance. So another tool that we expect to see quite a lot of play next year is Countergain. Countergain is a great tool, and if you attach it to a Pokemon and you are behind on prizes, that Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colourless energy less. The problem is you don't always want this, and Countergain's an awkward one. Because when you're behind on prizes, it is utterly amazing. And when you're ahead on prizes, it's utterly useless. And some decks will be behind on prizes more than they're ahead, and then they're built for comebacks, in which case Countergain's better. And some decks are built for fast starts, but want to be able to use a comeback if need be. So they're less use for this. So most decks don't want to play for Countergain. Well, in comes Adventure Bag. And here's the thing, right? If you're ahead on prizes and you're rushing towards a quick victory, search out those Choice Band. If you're behind on prizes, then search out your Countergain. You see, on the one hand, you could look at this and go, why would you play this rather than just playing an extra tool? But the other thing this allows you to do is it gives you options. If you're a deck using Choice Band, maybe you just play for Choice Band. But maybe for Choice Band isn't enough, in comes Adventure Bag. Maybe you want to play a combination of Choice Band and Countergain, in comes Adventure Bag. It gives you options and certainty, because there's not really a great way to search for Pokemon tools. And even when there is a great way to search for Pokemon tools, this makes it better. I'll give you an example. Volkner. Volkner is really good in Lightning decks. It allows you to search for a basic Lightning Energy and an item card. Now, if you're in the expanded format, then you have, of course, got Corinna, that gets you a fighting Pokemon and an item card. And, of course, we've got good old Skylar, who just searches out an item card. And Pokemon tool cards are items, so you could use any of these cards I've just mentioned to go and search yourself a tool card. Or you could use it to search an Adventure Bag, and then use Adventure Bag to search yourself 2 tool cards. And maybe you're playing something like Bursting Balloon. Now again, we're clearly in the expanded format here. But the one thing I found about Bursting Balloon is, well, it's a tool card whereby you attach it, and if you get damaged by an attack, you put 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. But one thing I've found is that cards like Guzma can completely neuter it. If you attach it to a bench Pokemon, your opponent doesn't play Guzma, and if you attach it to the active, they play a Guzma. And I've often played decks like Garchomp that use Bursting Balloon. And one of the things I like to do, and it's only once or twice a game, it can only be once or twice a game, you attach one to the active and one to the bench, and you basically say to your opponent, I've only got 2 Pokemon you want to attack, they've both got Bursting Balloons on. Finding both of those Bursting Balloon are awkward, in comes Adventure Bag. There are some decks, like Tapu Bulu, whereby Choice Band is so important, this is just awesome. Same thing with Lapras. There are going to be some decks where the choice between Choice Band and Countergain is so crucial that Adventure Bag becomes good. And heck, I haven't even mentioned Genesect DX here. Don't forget that Genesect GX can actually go and attach 2 tools at once. Well, that's pretty gosh darn handy, because Adventure Bag can go and search you both of them out at once. In all of these situations, this is going to be a really good item card that you should consider playing. And then, of course, there's going to be plenty of decks that just want to play free Choice Band. So they just play free Choice Band. And even if they want to find their Choice Band more easily, they're going to play a 4th Choice Band over Adventure Bag. Adventure Bag isn't an item card for every deck. But there are certain decks where you look at it and go, yes, That's actually really handy. If this had been legal earlier, there's been plenty of decks where I would have played this, and I'm sure there are plenty of decks going forward for the next couple years while this is going to be legal, where it's going to see some play. It's not an out-and-out amazing card, and we've seen some of these in the past few days, like Giratina, for instance, which is just over-the-top good. But it's a really useful card that I do expect to see a fair amount of play. I'm going to be giving it between 3 and 4 Wassies. We don't give half Wassies. That would be barbaric. It's not quite good enough for me to out-and-out call a really good card, but I think it's better than a card you just occasionally chuck in your binder, ready for when you might want to pop it into a deck. No, ladies and gentlemen, a good card, but only in some decks. But I want to know what you think about Adventure Bag. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is a time where you let me know in the comment section where you go nuts, but you remember the rule, and you be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.